Howdy guys, welcome back. So just a little update from last week. As you may recall, the miter saw that we were using to cut some of the siding to length and get the ends squared up had a little bit of an issue. The arm cracked behind the motor where that mounts onto it. And in looking to see if I could find a replacement part, I found out that the saw itself had actually been recalled a couple years ago due to a potentially serious design defect. So I contacted the company this morning and they say, yep, that's a problem. We'll send you a shipping label, send the saw to us, and then we will ship you out a brand new miter saw. So that's in the works to get a new one of those. For the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start hooking up the siding that we've got ready to go and cut to length. First off, we're going to fill in this one little gap over here on that end, and then we're going to come around over here and work on this side, and then whatever we have left we'll start putting up on this back wall along through here. Alright, that does it for the front and the sides. So now we're going to move around to the back of the mill house here, and we'll just use up all the rest of the stuff that we've got cut to length. Alright, so today we are going to be heading all the way into the backwoods today and see if we can't find ourselves another poplar tree to take down. The next few days it's supposed to rain, so if we can get one taken down today and get a couple logs brought down here to the mill, we can do a little bit of milling while it's raining out. right, she's on the ground. And so now we can go ahead and start chopping this thing into lengths. Alright, well, my bar isn't quite big enough to get all the way through here to make the cut, so I definitely don't want to get on the other side to make it because we got this guy that's hanging up in the air up there, so once it goes, that's going to roll that way. So there's not a whole lot I can do with it right at the moment. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get back up here. I'll bring the loader with me this time instead of the tractor, and I can kind of grab onto that and hopefully kind of pull on it and push it down, get that rotated around, then I can make the cut the rest of the way through here, and then we can start dragging some of this stuff out. Also, do you think that I cut it close enough for where the top of the tree came to and where I parked the tractor? So our log was kind enough to roll over for us last night, so that one that's a little bit further away from us was kind of sticking up in the air, and now that's laying down on the ground, so that'll make it a little bit easier and a little bit safer for us to get this thing out of here. Alright, well, my camera glitched on me while it was up here and filming me cutting up the rest of these logs the rest of the way and dragging them out, so I only got it down there. But we got it all out of here, so we're ready to start dragging those guys down to the mill. Alright, well, I was going to leave you guys up here until all of the logs were dragged down there, or at least when I came up for the last log here, but it's starting to sprinkle just a little bit here, and you know, I really don't want you guys to get wet, so I'm going to go ahead and bring you down with me on this run. Alright, well, we got these guys down here, so they're ready to go. So seeing as we still got a little bit more time today before it gets dark, let's head around to the back of the mill house and put up a little bit more siding. Alright, so that doubled what we had up here to start with, and that also gets us about 2/3 of the way up this lower section, and a little less than half the way all the way up this back side. Alright, so today we are going to do a little bit of prep work. We're going to do some cleanup around here. We've got a big pile of sawdust back here. We've got a whole bunch of little scraps of wood. We're going to get those picked up and moved over closer to the wood stove, because that's ultimately what's going to happen with them. But since it's been warm the last couple weeks, haven't been burning stuff up, so it's sort of piling up all over the place. So trying to get this area kind of cleaned up so that way we're ready to do some more milling. Alright, so we got this area back here all cleaned up, so that's accessible by the loader now, so that we can get in here a little bit more easily to clean out the sawdust when that starts piling up. And then we've also got our logs right over here. This one is going to have to be split in order to fit on, so we'll have to do that with the chainsaw again. This one over here, it's got a crotch on the one end, and I think if we just kind of straighten off that one side, I think that might be all that we need to do in order for it to fit on here, because the rest of it is underneath the 30-inch mark that we have to have it for the mill. Alright, last day for this week, and the first thing that I did today was I cleaned under the mill. I didn't do that last night when I was here, but there was a good bit of sawdust that had worked its way under there. I think it had kind of gotten blown in by the wind, and what I used for that was this thing right here, which is actually just a plain old garden hoe that has a handle cut short on it, and that actually came from some of my grandfather's belongings. And that was something that he used to clean out rabbit hutches. He had old wooden rabbit hutches, and so you would have to scrape the rabbit poop out of there, and that's what he used for that. And I thought, hey, I bet that would work pretty well, and it did. It really did. Can get right underneath the rails and just scrape that sawdust right out of there. So today, if we don't get rained on, which it is kind of getting a little bit coming down right now, we're gonna try getting this guy right here split, and we'll do that with the chainsaw again, kind of cut through that, and then hopefully do a little bit of milling with that as well. Okay, so we got our log split over here. The thing is, I don't have the loader down here for today, so I don't think I can really move these things around. I do have the old Massey Ferguson, but I don't think it's going to lift it. I just don't think it's going to lift it. It doesn't have that much oomph to it to be able to lift this size of logs. So I think this is going to be all that we get done today. So I did get the miter saw sent in this past week, so that's on the way back to the company because that was recalled. So I don't really know for sure when the new one's coming in. Hopefully it'll be coming in next week sometime, maybe, and then we can use that to get back to cutting our siding to length. But like I said, I have no idea when the new one's coming in. We do still have a decent amount over there that's already cut, so I think for next week what we'll do is we'll get one cant out of this part, we'll get 2 cants out of that part, we'll mill those up, and I think we'll go ahead and get all of that siding hung and see where we're at that point before we mill any more, because the upstairs is shorter than this lower part, so we aren't going to use quite as much up there as far as height, but there's a little bit more I guess wall space linearly that there is to cover, so I'm not for sure how much more we're going to need, so I don't want to mill more than I need for this project. So, as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next week.